I'd like to call to order the October 3rd, 2023 Brooklyn City Board of Education regular meeting. Mr. Sherrard, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Ezrani.
Here.
Ms. Kroll.
Here.
Mr. Slattery.
Here.
Ms. Barczak.
Here.
Mr. Neal.
Here. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first things first, classes. Comments from visitors. In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient fashion, a maximum of 30 minutes of public participation as it pertains to school-related topics will be permitted at each meeting. Each person wishing to address the board will approach the podium and state his/her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person will be allotted 3 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have an opportunity to do so. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board. Anyone?
Is this on?
It's just for us.
It's just for show.
It's just for me.
Yeah, just speak.
Okay. Kathleen Pucci, 10206 Spidoff Road. I did mention this to Dr. Ted when I was on my way in, but I think it's important for the school board members to hear it firsthand. Very frustrated. I was asked to come to a meeting tonight at 6 o'clock regarding the bond issue and the capital projects for the schools. The doors were locked. There's nothing on the homepage about the change. There's nothing in the news and announcements. The calendar still says 6 p.m. Nothing on the board page. And the meeting calendar still says 6 p.m. So there's two things that frustrate me. The first is the school board has their regular meetings the first and third Tuesday of the month. And my personal opinion is, and I don't know how many times it's changed this year, but I know it was frustrating when I was the school board liaison because of the changes. I think the public should be able to count on when the regular meetings are scheduled and that they go on as scheduled. I understand something might come up for somebody, but if you can't be here, that's okay, as long as there's a quorum. Special meetings are a different story, and I know, that there's a protocol for, calling those and the notice and everything. I did eventually find it on Facebook. Facebook is not a public notice, and there's nothing on the website to indicate that this was changed. The other thing I want to bring up is please tape both of your meetings. These are not special meetings, the regular meetings. I think it's very important, especially as you're moving forward with a bond issue, that both of the regular meetings be taped. Again, I understand that just like with council, we haven't had the capability to tape our special meetings, but I think that's important. And you guys all know I have been attending school board meetings for 29 years. And I've been very active and involved. I have supported everything the schools have done, including working on every levy. For years, I did all your vote by mail postcards. So this is not anything against the schools. This is something that I think it's important to bring to your attention. And I know that Dr. Ted said that he did email the mayor today. However, our structure at the city is different. Dr. Ted works for you. We don't work for the mayor, and the mayor doesn't work for us. So there is a group city council email address, and I trust that this will be taken care of. Or, of course, who we all are, that you could just plug our names into the city email and it'll come up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do apologize. This was a late change, and it is our error, and it will be corrected next time through. So just to let you know that. So I apologize for that. All right. Anybody else? We're going to the next item is executive session. The Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby recesses into 4 consecutive sessions for the purposes of considering the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, demotion, Compensation of a public employee. Number 2, to consider the purchase of property or to consider the sale of property, either real or personal, by the competitive bid if disclosure of the information would give competitive advantage to the other side by division G2 in section 121.22 of the revised code. Upon conclusion of these executive session, the board shall gavel the board back into open session at the location all matters discussed in this executive session are designated to the public officials and employees in a confidential pursuant to RC 102.03B. Because of the status of proceedings and or the circumstances under which the information will be received and preserving its confidentiality is necessary to the proper conduct of government business. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Shearhart, can you call the roll?
I'm sorry, give me a second.
Bonnie?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Slattery?
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck?
Yes.
Ms. Kroll?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes.
Mr. Ezruni?
Yes.
Those are questions and answers since they have cameras and everything.
City School District Board of Education hereby approves the first reading of the following board policies as noted. Any, do you have a motion? Oh, no, this is just action, please. Dr. Claris, can you just point out a few of these, please?
Yeah, so really, this is basically 3 or 4 months worth of updates from Neola, getting caught up with some of the technology, really mostly revisions, and just kind of what I would encourage you to do is you go through, they're already live on Board Docs, so if you have any specific questions, let me know, but I could go over them specifically, policy by policy next time.
Second reading.
Yeah, very good.
Any questions? All right, thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Next is resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves coaching resignation of Tim McFarland, head varsity football coach, effective September 25th, 2023. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments? Mr. Shearer, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Slattery?
Yes.
Ms. Crawl?
Yes.
Mr. Israani?
Yes.
Ms. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes. Superintendent's presentation, Master Facility Plan and District. Dr. Claire.
Thank you, Mr. Neal, Board of Education. So I want to take a little bit of time today to just kind of go over the master facility plan and district finance update. Very similar presentation that what we gave last time. And so moving forward, I will say this is part of our Vision 2030 strategic plan. Information being provided here, I want to be very clear, is merely factual. District personnel are not allowed to advocate for or against the passage of a levy or bond issue during the times they are being compensated. So this is the Auditor of State has new guidance in terms of how superintendents and treasurers can function during times of levies or potential bond issues. So I want everybody to be very clear. Rob and I are kind of not advocating, we're just presenting the factual material in terms of what this potentially would look like for the Board of Education and for the community. Again, this relates to pillar number 5, finance and district operations. 5-year forecast from this past May. Rob on November 7th, I believe, that first work session in November, we'll be doing a preview of the November forecast, so obviously this will change. But I did want to include the current financial forecast of the district. And everybody has this PowerPoint in front of them. Current funding sources, so this is basically what we have currently. The chart reflects the current funding sources approved by the voters and the timeline for consideration of renewals. The avoiding deficit levy passed in November of 22. So that was kind of that first funding source that passed. Moving forward, we have consideration for renewals by the end of calendar year 2025 on renewal. And then we have 2 avoiding deficits, one which will have to potentially be considered by calendar year 27, and then the last one considered by calendar year 29. So that's the current funding sources that we have in the district. Okay. Any questions on that? All right. Obviously, in terms of the bond issue and talking about the potential for placing the bond issue on a ballot, Rob and I have been working with Mike Sharp from Squires in terms of some of the proposed bond issue facts. I'm going to kind of go over these, and we'll so right now for consideration is a 2.96 mil bond issue that will, if approved, generate $20 million, 37-year range of the bond at 5.375%. That 2.69 mils will cost the average homeowner, $100,000 home, $103.60 annually, or $863 a month. I know Bonnie has been pretty our home values are typically not just $100,000. So obviously we would know that if it's a $200,000 home, you would reflect that in that double that cost. But that's on the $100,000 home. Rob, you want to talk a little bit about, you talk about callable, like the refinancing, things like that?
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to verify was the bonds will be callable. So right now at the 5.375%, in the future, if the percentage were to drop down to 2 or 3, we can call the bonds and then reissue at a lower interest rate, which would save the district money.
So timelines for the board consideration, we have 2 resolutions on this evening, special needs bond issue approval, special needs designation approval on this evening, and then the first reading or the first proceeding for putting the resolution on the ballot. The second and final reading would be at our October 17th board meeting, and then eventually we're going to include sample ballot language to be included in that board resolution. Any question on the proposed, the issue facts?
Nope.
Okay. Just some current, again, total picture of what we've kind of done over the course, since 2021, put about $2.3 million into our facilities, some general funds, some of that we've used with ESSER funds that we've received over since the pandemic. As of this year, we've put about $119,000 into our facilities from various projects that kind of popped up once we hit into August. Some of bigger projects we have coming up, restroom renovations, things like that will be addressed, but that number for 23-24 will grow by the time we get to next summer. But that's kind of where we're at now. Big renovation project we will have for this year and for the summer. We'll be renovating all the high school bathrooms. So that will be a definite project we will be doing here at the high school, and that'll be paid through ESSER funds. It'll be paid through grant funds. Talked a little bit about potential, the takeover and potential use of the Brooklyn branch of the Cuyahoga County Public Library. That property will, in summary, kind of revert to the Board of Education once the branch of the library vacates to their new home on Memphis Avenue. And some of the things I think we need to consider, we need to think about if we take that property over is what would that be? What would that educational use be? What would be the cost to the school district? What would be the maintenance, cost for the district? I know we had talked earlier about potentially putting our early childhood preschool and learning center over there, trying to have a multi-purpose function of kids there during the day and some potential uses at night, potentially professional development, adult learning, things like that. I think over the course of the next 3-4 months, we're going to have to really dig into and take a look at what that cost would be for the district to maintain. But that's kind of pieces and parts of this moving forward. Any questions with that potential takeover? Okay. So AVG will be getting us a cost estimate of the projects I'm going to go over here in the next few minutes. That will give us a better idea of what the cost would be for these projects with concerning that $20 million bond. We've talked about air condition. We're just going to have to wait and see. I talked to AVG about this. They're just not sure yet if the air conditioning upgrade at the high school is possible until we get a final total of some of these projects. So again, we can mix and match and do some of those things once we determine the cost, but I think the first step would be let's see what the initial cost is and then kind of have those next conversations. So potential project planning for the bond issue would be auditorium renovations, new seating, lighting, plaster work, ceiling work, painting, sound panels, things like that. We would look at various interior improvements, so new flooring in the cafeteria, restoring the terrazzo floor, some guardrail, some of the railing work at the high school, bringing it up to code, trying to some of the aesthetic pieces within the interior of the high school. Definitely need new windows throughout the high school and the board complex. That's going to be about a $2 million price tag based on the last assessment. but I've asked AVG to include that in the project estimate. Restroom renovations, I think it's part of this, but we're gonna be moving forward with the restroom renovations this spring and this summer going forward. Looking at music room renovations, so carpeting, new paneling, sound paneling, just kind of aesthetically cleaning up both the band and the choir room, which attaches to our auditorium, so really taking that whole space, transforming it for our kids and for our staff. Renovation of our science labs. Our science labs are original. Mr. Rogers' room was my original chemistry room that I taught in 01, and so looking at renovating 3 of our science labs at the high school, try to hit some of our learning spaces. And then safety upgrades, exterior entrances for back main gymnasium, front of the high school, and the board office area. Again, these are just kind of renditions. It's not anything final, but looking at tying in safety upgrades to the renovation and looking at window film or some potential like safety upgrades for those entrances. And then main gym renovations, again, not new bleachers, new backboard system, got to do some work at the ceilings. I'm going to try to get some HVAC in there, some air conditioning in that gym. We're going to keep the floor. Floor's in pretty good condition. Sandy's done a nice job with maintaining that, but looking at hitting the main gym. And the last piece, we do have some foundational work that we need to get done at the stadium. We need some waterproofing with our homestand bleachers. We need to remediate the long jump pit, the shot and disc area. We're going to look at redoing the locker rooms, both the home and away. And I think, once we get into, if the bond issue passes, we'll begin to look at the design piece, but generally those are kind of the areas we're going to be hitting or focused on if that bond issue passes. Specifically, we'll be doing some other work on our own, fencing, some of the concrete work. We'll be doing some of that on our own that we wouldn't tie into the bond issue funding, but that's the foundational work that needs to happen at the stadium. Looking at potentially trying to do some lighting and scoreboard work over there also. So we'll see what AVG comes back with that. Additional phases of renovation. So I think, once we move forward, I do want to say we also are looking at a walking path at the stadium complex, outdoor walking path paved as part of the initial bond issue. So that is part of we're going to do this. Eventually, what I think we're going to need to do is we're going to need to redo the baseball field at some point down the road, and we're going to need to add a softball field at some point down the road. But that we have the path in place that will kind of work around that. So the path is the community path is part of the initial proposal. Fencing, we've talked about some corridors and stairwell renovations, and eventually we want to start getting into our classrooms on a large scale to begin renovating them and upgrading them as much as we can. We've talked about lights, we've talked about a baseball field, we've talked about a softball field, potentially a new scoreboard at that stadium. And that's kind of it right now. So what AVG will do is they will come back with their initial numbers based on kind of this skeleton. And once we get that back, we'll be able to see, okay, we have X amount of money left. What else can we do to cover some additional renovations with that money?
Any questions? Anybody?
I have two.
Yeah, Kel?
One, I know it's all the timing, would we consider putting, if we do absorb the city town, putting the city town over by the library, if we do make that be useful?
Yeah, I think we can have those conversations. I don't think it's a bad idea to do that. Yeah, I mean, I'd want to talk to the mayor and kind of find out, what some of their thoughts are, but I think anything's possible for sure.
And then the second one is regarding the scoreboard, is there room for instead of putting it in with the issue or using our funds, having some kind of, I mean, I've heard it thrown around in the past, having some kind of fundraiser or alumni fundraiser or something that, so that it doesn't come out of our funds.
Yeah, so we initially, when this summer hit, we thought we had an issue with our scoreboard and we were gonna need a new one because of some electrical issues. We got an initial quote of about $70,000 on a kind of just a middle of the road scoreboard. So I mean, from a financing standpoint, to answer your question, yeah, we could absolutely do that. We could look, there could be some fundraising maybe through a foundation or alumni. I know Rocky and I have talked about that in the past. But I think from a budgeting standpoint too, with the money we allocate for improvement funds, it's definitely doable. Like I almost see it as very similar to what we're doing with the field. Like we put X amount of dollars away for the new turf, that we're gonna have, so that when we get to replacing it, I see something very similar. Even if we allocated $25,000-$30,000 a year, we could be ready for a new scoreboard within 2 or 3 years for sure. So yeah, definitely we could. I just think what we need to probably do is prioritize our needs, right? I think that becomes the biggest piece. Like, what's the priority? What do we need to do to address some of the facility and capital needs? The stadium's in kind of a little bit of a weird spot for us, like, because we have some really great updated parts of it, but some of it we need to update those lights. We need to update those scoreboard. We got to get into those locker rooms. We definitely need to do some maintenance work on those bleachers that have just not been done over the course of the last 20 years, or since the fire, it hasn't been done the right way. So I think what we just need to do is kind of similar to what we've done in the past over these last 4 years, just prioritize our facility needs, and then Rob and I would work together with Sandy to say, hey, in 2 years we want to do this, and 3, and just kind of do the punch list going forward. Yeah.
Anybody else?
No.
Good? All right.
Okay.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Next, we're gonna go on to 5.2, declaring that the necessity of submitting the electors, the issuance payment, I'm one ahead of me.
Nope.
I'm one behind, I'm one ahead, sorry, 5.1, do apologize. Resolution determining that the school district is a special needs district and authorizing preparation and filing of materials in connection with applications for special needs designation and 4% consents. All preliminary steps are necessary to submit the question of a bond issue at the March 19, 2024 election in the amount in excess of 9% of the school district tax valuation as noted. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? Mr. Sherrod, can you call the roll?
Mr. Slattery?
Yes.
Mr. Israani?
Yes.
Ms. Kroll?
Yes.
Ms. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes. Declaring the necessity of submitting to the electors the issuance of a school improvement bond. Be it resolved by the Board of Education, Brooklyn City School District, County of Cuyahoga County, Ohio, approve a resolution declaring the necessity of submitting to the electors of the school district the question of the issuance of the school improvement bonds in the aggregate principal amount of $20 million pursuant to section 133.18 of the revised code at noted on file in Treasurer's Office, the maximum principal amount of $20 million for the purpose of constructing, adding to, renovating, remodeling, furnishing, equipping, and otherwise improving school district buildings and facilities, and clearing, improving facilities and clearing, improving and equipping their sites. Maximum of 37 years. Estimated net average rate is 5.375. The resulting county physical officer millage certification and project to be 2.96 mils for the March 19, 2024 election. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments?
So this is for
No new build. People are getting confused. This is not a new school building.
This is a renovation of our current facilities. Yes. Karan, did you say?
Anybody else? Mr. Shearer, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Slattery?
Yes.
Mr. Israani?
Yes.
Ms. Crawl?
Yes.
Ms. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes. All right. Do we have any other business? All right. Announcement, the next regular Board of Education meeting is Tuesday, October 17, 2023, Brooklyn Community Room, Brooklyn High School, Room 173, 9200 Biddulph, Brooklyn, Ohio, at 6 p.m. Can I have a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Question? Mr. Shearer, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Slattery?
Yes.
Mr. Israani?
Yes.
Ms. Crawl?
Yes.
Ms. Barcheck?
Yes.
Mr. Neal?
Yes. All right.